Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Young Guy International podcast. This is the second season of the podcast. For those of you that followed the first season of the podcast, we had 8 different guests. It was a great mix of people from different industries, different walks of life. And the focus essentially was around how do we speak to experienced people from across the world, bringing them together with the mission to create a socially connected world. But this is season 2 now. As you can see, it looks different. We're going to have more emphasis on the video aspect of the podcast, but also the audio aspect of the podcast. But before I get into the nitty-gritty of the podcast, I felt that it was important to take you guys through and really explain what the Young Guy International is and where it stems from. So the Young Guy International essentially is a product of the Young Guy Initiative. The Young Guy Initiative is something that was recently developed actually last year, essentially putting together all the initiatives that have started under one umbrella. The Young Guy Initiative essentially is meant to represent the needs, interests, and aspirations of young people. And how it does so is through 3 different arms. One, obviously, being the Young Guy Foundation. Then we have the Young Guy International, which is this podcast. And the third aspect of the Young Guy Initiative, which is Young and Restless, recently launched in November. I think by the time this comes out, Young and Restless will be about 4 or 5 months, and we'll have completed our summit, which was our 3rd event, Sustainable Impact Summit. Now, all these 3 different aspects of the Young Guy Initiative sort of come together to feed into the Young Guy Foundation, which is my nonprofit organization that my friends and I run in Uganda, essentially supporting the livelihood of children in Uganda. How do we do that? Is through early childhood care and education and marginalized youth, coupling the two to help the different communities across Uganda in the different ways that we can. So like I said, simply, Young Guy Initiative birthed to 3 different independent organizations: Young Guy Foundation, Young Guy International, and Young and Restless. Young Guy International is here essentially speaking to different guests, speaking to different individuals. And I think you're going to see from the guests that I bring on and what they teach us about their cultures, their heritage, their countries of origin. It will be great to learn about these different cultures. Now, this podcast didn't begin like this. For those of you that have been with me on this journey, it started off as a TV show back in Uganda in 2020, but through tumultuous change that happened across our journey, we realized that this might be the best avenue to explore this podcast and this show and try to shift it from what it was to what it is now, and hopefully see this essentially the vision that I initially had for it to come to life. In the first season, like I mentioned, we had a plethora of different guests from different industries and different walks of life. And just a small recap of what was like: 8 different guests, different industries. I was able to speak to many of my mentors, Agapi, Nation. I had Palak from India. I spoke to Dr. Vivek Goel, the President and Vice Chancellor of the University of Waterloo. One of my mentors, Sherry Joy Hugh. It was just a great mix of different people and different experts in their own right, and it was great to sort of speak to them, tap into their knowledge, and give that to you, and essentially help you understand how they were able to get to the different points they are in their lives, and using that as pieces of knowledge and advice that we can then extrapolate and continue to use to grow and blossom in the different aspects of your journeys. The objective of the second season of the Young Guy International podcast is essentially to tap into the different experiences from both the experienced individuals but also my peers, and seeing how from the two we can learn about, one, from my peers' perspective, how they eventually want to use what they have gone through to get to where they want to be, and then from these experienced individuals sort of tapping into the networks that they've built and the mentorship that they're able to give me, but you as well, the audience that will be watching and listening to the podcast. So all our previous listeners, welcome back. To the new listeners, welcome. The podcast is going to be on YouTube, so please do like, comment, subscribe on all the different episodes that will come out. For the audio listeners, it would be great if you did come watch to see how I interact with the different guests. But thank you again for listening. Thank you again. I hope you do enjoy the episodes as much as I enjoyed getting to know the different guests that were on these different different episodes. And I hope you guys enjoy the season. I hope you have fun. Please let me know what you guys think. Feedback is always great, always willing to learn. At the end of the day, I am an inspired work in progress. And that's it. Darren Baine, the host of the Young Guy International podcast. Thank you and take care. See you soon.